Oh, whoa. Manchester United are rolling again, right? Am I wrong? Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Welcome back to Lawrence McKenna channel. It's good to have you guys. Manchester United find themselves within, let me just bring this up, Premier League table. Did you Google it right? No. Manchester United find themselves within 3 points of Man City and 5 points of Arsenal. Though Arsenal have a game in hand. But still, if you'd have thought at the start of the season that Manchester United would be anywhere near here, you would have been crazy, right? Surely? Maybe there are some people out there who thought Manchester United would get top four, but they think they'll be this close, especially when you look at this starting 11 right here. You've got David De Gea in the back, of course. That back four, I don't know. I feel like some people would have doubted that at the start of the season. I made a little list of players that I think people doubted, and I'll get onto that in a second. I called them the maligned before set. But the key at the moment is this guy, Marcus Rashford. The start of the season, people doubted him. People doubted whether Marcus Rashford still had the ability. In fact, there were many discussions going on around whether Marcus Rashford could unlock his full potential. But where you really unlock your full potential is playing for a team that is purring. And currently, Manchester United are a team that is beginning to purr, should we say? Because I actually thought the first half was quite flat against Leicester. I actually think it was one of the worst halves that Manchester United have had this season, or one of the less good halves, should we say? And it was partly down to the fact that in the midfield, I didn't think they had the same structure. Sabitzer came in, I thought he was good. I actually thought Fred was getting better. But I actually felt like they didn't have a structure that could deal with what it was that Leicester were trying to do. And as much as they had control and they had some really simple passing sequences, I didn't actually think Manchester United were at their very best. And yet again, they sort of let quite a porous performance happen. They let Leicester through a couple of times, and really it relied on these two guys, Marcus Rashford and David De Gea. And of course, there is this guy who's getting like 9.5s at the moment from Manchester United fans, Bruno as well. I kind of asked a question earlier in the week on one of my videos, right? I said, I get in the long run, Bruno is going to be a good player. But is he going to be a player that fits into the Manchester United system, or the Manchester United system that Erik Ten Hag wants to play in the long run? And there was sort of mixed messages from Manchester United fans. But whilst he's unlocking the likes of Rashford, whilst he's helping people like Jadon Sancho as well, and he's really contributing in such a key way. Do you remember there was like that really interesting pass map? Did I screenshot it or not? No, I did. Oh wait, no, I did. Yeah. There you go, Manchester United. Let me just bring it in here. This is from The Athletic, by the way. Look at that. I think that's Bruno. Doesn't name the players, but that's the formation. Do you know what I mean? You're probably looking like a Fred-type character come Casemiro, Fred, Bruno, which leaves this side a little bit crazy. It makes them also quite left-sided, and obviously you've got Marcus Rashford out there. But look at how he's unlocking these areas. Look how often that green there means good. Thanks a lot, The Athletic, I appreciate it. Look at how often he's unlocking these areas. It's good to see if you're a Manchester United fan. But you also wonder whether Manchester United can get even more out of this structure. Obviously, Fred is also having a pretty good time at the moment, weirdly, despite him being on one of my maligned lists. Also, Shaw was also on the maligned list at one point. Marcus Rashford was in this transitional zone between the two right there. And then at the very bottom, and I kind of have said this about a couple of teams this season, if you'd have signed Weghorst and Sabitzer in a time when there wasn't such an upward feeling of trajectory at Manchester United, I feel like a lot of people would have gone, typical Glazer time, things aren't going so good, so, we've sort of settled for these guys. Sabitzer look good, and I think Weghorst has actually looked like he's bringing this Manchester United front line together quite nicely. I sort of like his adventure. I like his sense of the fact that he could do an overhead kick in the game, which he clearly couldn't. But I enjoy his performances. I think he's a real handful and really energetic in that front line. And then that's when they're on the defensive. When they're on the attack, you know that you sort of have to guard him. You know that you have to have one, maybe two players who are going to be able to get in his head space, like that space where he can head the ball. So you drop off someone like maybe a Marcus Rashford or maybe a Jadon Sancho or someone like that. And you start to give people a little bit more space somewhere else. Anyway, these guys were maligned. I actually quite enjoyed both their performances. I thought they were really good. And then you've kind of got this injury zone here, right? You've got Anthony Martial. This is a series of them, by the way, thanking people. I had to get like some sort of theme. So you got Anthony Martial clapping the fans here for Anthony. And then Donny van de Beek probably thanking a fan. And then I just thought this was like quite cool. I know these are a really weird performance for a fully grown man, but I run a YouTube channel, so that's a fully grown man thing as well. Enjoyed that, but I often think to myself, like, what if these guys has also been fit? What if you had a Donny van de Beek type in the midfield that can come in and maybe change things a little bit? Would you be seeing a slightly different profile, maybe a slightly different play style from someone like Erik ten Hag? Or is it because they have to keep going through these specific midfielders because they don't have a lot of options there that Manchester United are currently sort of relatively limited in how they can play the game? And I get it, like Leicester made it so easy for them today, but do you get what I mean? Like a manager needs kind of a palette to pull from. He needs like a series of different players he can bring on, and sometimes he's doing that. For instance, that's really working well for Marcus Rashford and Jadon Sancho at the moment, where Marcus Rashford's like the A side, Jadon Sancho comes on, he's a B side. At the moment, although he is very much coming into the team, we're seeing Garnacho as well, starting a lot more games. That's definitely great for Manchester United. But you can sort of see, like, when Sancho comes on, he's clearly one of those trusted playmakers that Erik ten Hag has. Clearly a slightly more central character than one of the wing-type characters. And it also gives Manchester United, from my perspective, a little bit more balance. A little bit more that the pitch begins to open up to them. And at the moment, space is found by Jadon Sancho, because they aren't used to dealing with a non-lopsided Manchester United. Just look at these passes here. Like, look at that. See that? That's so lopsided left. They are the left-sided side right now, and so there are some quite isolated players. Still quite a poor relationship between David De Gea and his centre-backs, but I think maybe David De Gea deserves a bit of a break because he's been really good for Manchester United again this season. Still possibly a better passing option at the back. But while the side look vulnerable and while they're trying to learn a new system, it might actually be that David De Gea is one of the best goalkeepers you could have in this transitional period. Safe pair of hands, so to speak. He's also a player who you enjoy watching in terms of, like, you don't have to go, something bad's going to happen every time he gets the ball. And then you also have like that captain type mentality. So I think leaders are really key in this time, and I'm kind of all for that. And then someone who people really have been mentioning a lot, but haven't really mentioned enough over the last weeks, Lisandro Martinez. Fantastic player, obviously injured for a little while, out of the team for a little while. Comes back and makes it look so easy. Love him as a player. Think he's great. Do think Manchester United lack Casemiro when he's not in the team. Do think Manchester United lack Varane when they're not in the team. Really, they were quite lucky they were playing Leicester today. But you can see the improvements that Manchester United are undergoing. And it sort of leads me on to my final point here. All these players playing really, really well, right? Like, I'm really enjoying watching Marcus Rashford. I'm really enjoying when Garnacho starts. Not as a Liverpool fan, obviously, but as a football fan. Dalot needs way more credit in this side. Like, I feel like he's like, because of Aaron Wan-Bissaka and the fact that he was cheaper than Aaron Wan-Bissaka, he kind of gets overshadowed a lot. I really enjoy watching him play. He's really attacking at fullback. I also think he's really great defensively. He's so combative. He's really, really what you want to see if you're a Manchester United fan, because he almost reminds me of like a Gabriel Heinze. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to you? In the sense of his demeanor out in the field, the way that he leads, the way that he gets the ball forward. I think he's really engaged with the play. He passes the eye test, if not the statistics test. And I think he often gets overlooked because he's not Aaron Wan-Bissaka, and Aaron Wan-Bissaka was so lauded because he was signed for so much money. So I think he deserves more credit out there. But this side currently, you can see a couple of positions. Even that maligned list that I pulled up there, like, you can see there'll be a couple of players in here that you could sort of go, okay, maybe you can switch him out and you get someone else in. There are different stages to a rebuild, and I really think they've brought in some great kind of transitional players. Weghorst being one of them, Sabitzer being another one of them. Both of them you could see being squad bit part players in the long run, but also players that when you bring on, no one sort of goes, oh no, not this guy. So there's a big difference, I think, between these, between Manchester United of this season and Manchester United of last season. This season is definitely much more positive. You can even see Victor Lindelof, I think, at one point would have been a bit more maligned. But let me lead you on to this list of men here. What's Elon Musk, Jimmy Raddy, James Radcliffe? I think it's Sir James Radcliffe, actually. And then Sheikh Yassin bin Hamed Al-Thani, sorry. I want to make sure I get these names right. These three men couldn't be more alike in terms of the fact that these guys are richest beyond their wildest dreams, though I would imagine that maybe the wildest dreams of a Sheikh are slightly different to the wildest dreams of, say, a Jim Radcliffe. But they're also treated so differently in the media, aren't they? This guy here, apparently a genius. This guy here, good at chemicals, so we'd never understand his genius. I will break this down in another video later in the week, by the way. And this guy here, well, because people assume that he got his money from his daddy, which generational wealth kind of works that way, especially if you inherit it directly from your parents, because that's what generational wealth is. People kind of just assume like that this is maybe like a bit of a passion project. And I get like a hint of racism, just a hint of it. I also get a hint of we should be cynical of all three of these guys. They all made billions. In order to make billions, not the show, but the money, you do have to break a few eggs to make an omelette. And it's just that now they want to make a Manchester United shaped omelette. Anyway, we can evaluate these owners at some point later in the week. I kind of think it would be different and exciting depending upon the person who signs them. I did actually quite like the mission statement from the Sheikh. I thought it was like, I thought it was quite, I thought it hit all the right notes, but I'm always cynical of rich guys. Like this guy, Jim Radcliffe here, does he not just look like if you put a Green Goblin suit on him? Do you know what I mean? Or this guy here already is a supervillain. I don't think he's actually going to buy Manchester United, so let's just get rid of him. Off you go, Muskie. But these two, very much in a deadlock for Manchester United. They both submitted bids apparently before. Of course, Jim Radcliffe should just support his local and support someone in London, but apparently a lifelong Manchester United fan. And if I said the same thing about the Sheikh, that would sound racist, because it probably would have racist kind of connotations for some people, even though the undertones that I want to imply are different. But I do think he gets slightly unfair coverage sometimes, purely as a byproduct of being a rich person. And I think we should be critical and evaluative of rich people. Sometimes there are some human rights issues in certain places, and we should mention that. But we should also be critical of people like Jim Radcliffe, a guy who took a month-long trip to the North and South Pole. What I'm saying is we cover them in different ways. We don't talk about the nice holiday habits of the Sheikh. We do talk about how Jim Radcliffe went to the North and South Pole. Do you know what I mean? Like one of them is like this, like held up as, Mr. Football, and this guy is going to help reform. And I get it. Like, I'll talk about this later in the week. But the point is, if either of these guys took the club, imagine what these guys are thinking at this. Imagine what these guys are thinking at this point, right? Do you know what I mean? Look at them. Anyway, like imagine what this team is thinking. You're currently kind of playing with an incredible amount of excitement anyway, because as an individual unit, I think Erik Ten Hag, has clearly made them into a unit that is almost independent of the owners in that sense. Other teams in the past, it felt like there was constant this like back and forth about, these guys are bought by these owners, so we don't back this team. Now Erik Ten Hag has made a side that almost feel completely independent of that. And I love that if I'm a Manchester United fan, because as much as there is money in this side, sure, Fred costs a lot of money, Bruno costs a lot of money, Delot costs cash, Martinez obviously costs a lot of cash, Luke Shaw obviously costs a lot of money, and Weghorst didn't. But as much as there is money invested in the side, they feel like they're becoming Erik Ten Hag's side. There is a feeling of independence from the whole higher Manchester United narrative that has hung over the club since Sir Alex Ferguson left, right? Doing like the Bill Shankly pose. But you know what I mean? And so when a new owner comes in, the fact that they have made this level of independence from ownership may help whoever's narrative is that comes in to buy them. And I do hope that powerful people are held to account, but I also hope for Manchester United fans' as a fellow fan, I hope that you guys don't lose your sense of what the club is, and that you don't begin to change your journey, because your journey's been a really good one. And I think you're building a bit of bond with this team. It would kind of be a shame to upset that if another billionaire comes in and kind of makes you the Yankees again, which I don't think you are right now. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. I'd be interested to know what you think. Really great performance again for Manchester United in the second half. First half, a little bit underwhelming, actually. Tell me, let's go to this table. Come on now, guys. Do you think Manchester United can make a chase for the title? Because I do. Not that I want to see it happen, but how fun would it be to watch Manchester United, you know? As a Liverpool fan, obviously not. But as a football guy, wow, you know? Hate it. Hate it. But in the same time, love it. Anyway, this has been great, guys. I hope you had a good time watching the video. I hope you enjoy the analysis. If you've not, hit the subscribe button. I'll try and please you next time. If you have, hit the subscribe button and I'll please you again next time. It's been good to see you guys. Chat to you in a little while. Let me know in the comments below just what you guys are thinking overall. I'm about to go watch the Spurs game. See you in a little while. Much love. Bye.